What a great character we have for you folks today, and that being Miriam, the same Miriam of the Old Testament. She was a prophetess for the Jewish people, and she was also the older sister of probably two of the most prominent leaders of the entirety of the Bible, certainly of the Old Testament, that being Aaron and Moses. Her name is derived from the same root name Mary, and it means bitterness or even jealousy. I think that's kind of interesting because that plays out in actually Miriam's story. Josephus, the great historian, would write that Miriam married a prominent judge, and that being her, like Ben-Hur, but it wasn't him, but he would record that. The biblical narrative, however, would say that she was single, and her main focus, her mission in life, was to be patriotic and be noble and be honorable in that task of leading the people Israel, along with her brothers Aaron and Moses. So we know that that's her heart, and that's truly what we see played out in the book of Exodus. She burst onto the scene as this young preteen, most likely, and her mom asked her something kind of interesting. Mom says, "Hey, Miriam, why don't you scoop up Moses, being 3 months or younger even, as a little baby, and put him in this little basket I made, and I want you to put him in the Nile River." Boy, I wonder if Miriam had questions here, but she does exactly what Mom says to do, and she walks down, puts him in the river, and waits around, because somehow, some way, maybe her mom, maybe her too, knew that the princess of Egypt went in these little waters, maybe a little cove area of the Nile River that wasn't so raging. And it was at that point that she bathed herself and her servants, or maybe she was cleaning her clothes, we don't know. But she would be at this point, and maybe just at the right time is when Miriam put Moses in the water. The Bible records that the princess saw this basket and scooped up the basket, had a servant grab it, and there was a little baby in there. Oh man, what am I going to do with this baby? Miriam rushes to the scene and says, "I know. In fact, I know someone that can take care of this baby." We know that the princess of Egypt would adopt Moses and name him Moses, and secure Jochebed, who is his birth mom, and all at the urging of Miriam. So she was super influential. Such a fantastic story of who she was, being obedient and playing out that whole story of her brother. Amazing story. She is a prophetess, as we mentioned, and in her role, she led the people in song. And through that, in the inspiration of the Spirit of God, she was the one who led the entirety of the people of Israel in song and in the power of God. She saw miraculous things. The Red Sea being split open by the power of God, and then closed over the armies of Egypt. She saw that. And she led the women in dancing and instrumentals after that great victory. She said this, "Sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed victoriously. He is glorious. The horse and the rider have been thrown into the sea. Jehovah has triumphed. His people are free." Just an amazing story of Miriam. And she was very faithful to Moses as a leader until she was a little bit older, and we see her blemish or whatever of her story. It's when she, in her insecurity, became jealous of Moses and his leadership. In fact, it's suggested that maybe she even led Aaron to rebel against Moses, because both of them did, and it was over her jealousy of Moses. And what happened was there was consequences for her sin. Miriam was struck with leprosy. Can you imagine just being outcast from the people and being relegated to being isolated away because no one could be close to her disease? Sounds interesting to our story today around COVID, isn't it? As their self-isolation and being kept from everybody else. So Miriam was an outcast. And you know, her brothers prayed for her, and God healed her. 7 days later, she came out of that and was completely healed. And then the people moved on and headed to the promised land. It's interesting to note, too, that she aged quickly. Maybe the disease kind of took her body over a little bit, but there she was stricken before she made it to the promised land. And again, the people stopped and they mourned for her for 30 days. So what a prominent figure in Miriam. What a great leader we had. And that she undoubtedly repented and moved forward after her time and her consequence. Folks, for us, it's so tempting to be jealous. It's so tempting to judge other people and wonder, how come they got what I don't have? And you covet and you want and you desire. Maybe we have this story of, this is not God's heart, and it's not something in a Christian character of being jealous. So let's just be careful of that. That's not in God's heart. Thank you, folks, for listening. Appreciate you taking the time.